All right guys, on today's field tips, we're gonna be talking about how to get the most out of your practice. What we're gonna do in this video is just highlight a few of the things that have helped me over the past 10 years or so, especially when it comes to making that one shot that counts. And hopefully, by explaining some of the things that have helped me, maybe you can find something to incorporate into your practice routine that's gonna help you as well. One of the things that I like to do is shoot one arrow at a time and focus on that arrow. Even though I have a quiver full of arrows, I'll shoot one arrow, I'll concentrate on that arrow, I'll go pull that arrow and come back and shoot that arrow again. Now this does a couple of things. One, it helps to keep me from getting fatigued because I'm not sitting back there shooting arrow after arrow after arrow. The second thing that it does is it forces me to concentrate on that arrow. Because as a bow hunter, or even as a 3D archer, it's that one arrow that really matters. When we shoot a lot of arrows in succession, I think a lot of the times we have a tendency to focus on the arrows that go where we want them to go and kind of discount the arrows that are flyers or that don't go exactly where we want them to. And so by shooting one arrow at a time, shoot that arrow, go pull it, you have the opportunity to look at that arrow and question yourself, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? If the arrow didn't go exactly where I wanted it to, why didn't it go there? Instead of just instinctively grabbing another arrow out of the quiver and letting all of that opportunity to better your shot just kind of go away. Because it doesn't force you to focus on that when you have the ability to just grab another arrow and fling another arrow and right the wrongs that you just shot on that first arrow. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between a good shot and a bad shot. And I want to talk about it in a way that has been talked about for a very long time. I think this is actually in Saxon Pope's book. And I'm totally paraphrasing here, but he says something along the lines of, sometimes a poor shot will be a center punch 10-ring hit, and a good shot will be a near miss. And so how can that be? Well, it comes down to sheer probability. If you fling enough arrows at a target, even if you have totally crappy form, you're gonna get some of those arrows that, again, just through probability are gonna hit right into the 10-ring. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like to shoot a lot of arrows, because when you focus on those results, when you focus on where those arrows go, it's easy to congratulate yourself for that 10-ring hit, even though that may have been a very poorly executed shot. And so what I would encourage you to do is to not focus on the results of the shot, not focus so much on where those arrows strike, but focus instead on shooting a perfectly executed shot. And what I mean by that is focus on each step of your shot. So when I shoot, I pre-aim, I draw, I anchor, I aim, and then I transfer that to my back, so back tension, pull through until my shot breaks. And if I execute every step of that shot properly and perfectly, I can have no other results than perfection. It's when I start skipping steps, when I start stepping ahead and rushing, that's when I throw my shots off. But if you execute every step of the process perfectly, you will have a perfect shot, a perfectly executed shot. And like I said before, you might not hit in the 10-ring, but you're not gonna hit far from it. If you live out in the country like I do and you have the ability to have a couple of 3D targets, that's really, really great. But even if you live in an apartment in the city, you can still shoot a couple of arrows a day. And to practice this way, you don't have to shoot at distance. You don't have to be able to stretch your shots out to 20, 25 yards to get in some good practice. I mean, you can shoot from, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 yards and still get in that good practice as long as you focus on executing those steps. Draw, anchor, aim, back tension, pull through, break the shot, all of those things. And so don't think that you need to drive to the archery range. Guys, you need to be shooting every day, even if it is point blank. So one of the things that I like to do, especially as hunting season starts to get closer, is to go through a mental exercise and put myself in what I would consider to be a realistic hunting scenario. And so I play these scenarios out in my mind, which it never happens the same way when you're in the woods. Something unexpected always happens. But I'll think through like what could potentially happen. And I use that one arrow, my first arrow of the day, to make that shot. And so what I'm talking about is, you know, if I'm elk hunting and I envision this bull elk coming in, screaming his head off and, you know, stopping broadside at 12 yards. And I'm thinking through this in my mind, okay, calm the breathing down. I draw, I anchor, I aim, back tension, pull through until my shot breaks. What this does is it takes that one arrow, and from a practice standpoint, I feel like it makes it more valuable because you put yourself in that place mentally. And so much of making a good archery shot is mental. I don't know, 90% of it is mental, 10% of it is physical. When it comes to making a good shot on an animal, when it really counts, you've got to be able to control your emotions. And one of the best ways to do that is having been in those situations before. And with most of us, we have limited opportunities to be in that situation. We have limited ability to hunt and shoot at animals. And really, I mean, that is the best possible way to overcome target panic or buck fever or whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, we can't do that all the time unless you live in an area where there's lots of pigs or something like that, where you just have shot opportunity after shot opportunity. And so going through these mental exercises, it's not as good, but it's a heck of a lot better than nothing at all. So one other tip that I found very, very helpful in a bow hunting situation, and this is especially applicable if you're an instinctive shooter, is to look at the animal in a very specific way. And what I'm talking about is looking at the animal as if they radiate from that one little spot in the pocket behind the shoulder where you want to hit. Now, as people, we have a tendency to look at eyes, whether it's another person or an animal, because there's a ton of information that's conveyed that way. You can get an idea of someone's mood or the disposition of an animal by looking at their eyes. But in a bow hunting situation, the eyes are still very, very important. You can get a lot of information from the body language, the eyes, the ear position, all of that stuff. So those things, I'm not telling you to discount that. What I'm telling you is that is not where you need to be focusing. And we have a tendency to do that. And so in the weeks and months leading up to an archery season, I'm constantly reminding myself to not look at the eyes, but to look at the spot behind the shoulder. And if you do this constantly with cows out in the field, deer walking around, your dog, it doesn't matter. Any animal that you see that you get the opportunity to remind yourself to look at that pocket, do that. Because if you do that enough, you just automatically go there. And so when you find yourself in that high stress situation where you've got that bull coming in or you've got a deer coming in, you've trained yourself to look immediately to that spot that you want to hit. And like I said, if you're an instinctive shooter, that is absolutely critical to have that little spot be your entire world. All right, guys, well, that's all I have for you today. We are going to be uploading some elk hunting videos soon after the elk season is over, probably be middle of October. And so if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Hit the little bell icon. You'll get notified when I put out those videos. So wish me luck. Last year, it took me 19 days of hunting to kill my bull. And so I'm hoping that I can beat that this year. I'm hoping that I can kill an elk at all. Because with a stick bow, it's never a guarantee. And so wish me luck, and we'll see you with some elk hunting stuff in October.